We're in Mendocino County at Point Arena Lighthouse, and Mark, it is hard to miss this from miles away. Tell us about Point Arena Lighthouse.
Well, the Point Arena Lighthouse is the tallest lighthouse on the Pacific coast. It's about 155 feet above the mean low tide line. And with that elevation, the original lens was visible 21.5 miles out to sea.
So give us a history of how long has this been here?
Well, the Point Arena Light Station, number 496, that's its official nomenclature, was commissioned way back in 1870. And this is actually the third lighthouse that's been out here on the point.
Okay.
The first one was built way back in 1870, it was completed in 1870, and it was a brick and mortar lighthouse. On April 18th, 1906, we had the ground shaking event up here. The San Andreas Fault is about 4 miles that way, and it moved laterally 16 feet that morning. So you can imagine the damage that did to brick and mortar structures in and around Point Arena. They were either damaged or destroyed, including both the lightkeeper's quarters and the lighthouse tower. But the tower itself didn't fall down, and we're going to be climbing up one of the probable reasons it didn't. It's a circular wrought iron staircase that went up the middle of the tower. So even though the tower went about 5 feet to the north and 5 feet to the south, for 45 seconds to a minute during the earthquake, according to the lightkeeper who was up there when it happened, it didn't fall down. So the first one was so damaged by the earthquake that they decided it'd be better to build a new one.
Sure.
So for the time it took to tear that down and build this one, they had to have a temporary tower because you still needed to keep the ships going by here because they were rebuilding San Francisco with the lumber from up here. This peninsula is one of the reasons that they chose to put the lighthouse here, because it does jut out considerably. And the way California goes up here, it goes up and then turns back in, right here being us. And this is the closest point on the continental United States to Hawaii.
This building behind us, what's in this building right here?
Well, this is the historic fog signal building. And this was actually completed in 1896, 10 years before the earthquake. And obviously it's still standing. It's also obviously not made out of brick and mortar. This is made out of old growth redwood.
Sure, sure.
So this building originally housed the machinery that powered the foghorns that were out on the coast.
What do you use it for now, this building?
It's our museum and our gift store.
Museum and gift store. Can we go check out the museum?
Absolutely.
All right, let's
go on in.
Well, you can't miss what's inside the museum here. What are we looking at?
Well, this work of art is a first-order Fresnel lens. It's named after Augustin Jean Fresnel, who was a French physicist that came up with the concept of using prisms to bend light into concentrated beams that could travel long distances. It's about 7 feet wide by 9 feet tall, and it's probably one of the best preserved first-order lenses in the country, if not the world.
There's a light on in there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just like there would be in the lighthouse.
Correct, but that one's a lot less wattage than what was in there when it was up in the tower. That's a 10-watt bulb.
Oh.
If you look to the left of it, there's a non-lit bulb, and that's a 1,000-watt bulb.
Oh,
and that's what they used to beam the 21.5 miles out to sea once they had electricity. Whoa. But before they had electricity, this was basically a big camp lantern. So it was powered by kerosene, and there was a kerosene vapor mantle inside, and that put out 16,000 lumens. This building that we're in is actually called the Fog Signal Building. And it's called that because it housed the machinery that had the foghorns.
Right here?
So this was the foghorn that used to be out on the point out there. And it was air powered. So this big black tank was a compressed air tank that sounded these off. And this compressor here is what filled that tank up. So before 1928 and going all the way back to the 1870 lighthouse, the horns and before them the whistles were powered by steam. There was a big steam boiler inside this room that was wood fired, and that had to be kept stoked up so that they could sound off the horns and before that the whistles that were powered by steam.
So these foghorns, how far out can you hear these?
Generally about 6 miles.
6 miles?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We can't fire these up now, can we?
At 215 decibels, you probably wouldn't want me to. This is called a mercury bath and drive system. And that 4,700-pound lens used to sit on top of this shaft right here.
Oh, wow.
And inside this sealed drum was 5.3 gallons of mercury. So that literally rode on a liquid bearing of mercury. The other part of the lighthouse was a grandfather clock. So this handle you see here had to be cranked for about 10 minutes every 75 minutes during the course of the night by the 2 light keepers who were on the split shifts. And that would draw this 160-pound weight all the way to the top of that tower. And then for the next 75 minutes, the weight would drop down, the clockworks would turn, and you get the double white flash every 6 seconds.
Oh my goodness. All right, you're talking 145 steps. I'm nervous, but let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it. Oh my gosh. Well, you got me this far. I'm on step 3.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actually.
6. Oh my
6 of 145 that are going to take us to the top of the tallest lighthouse on the West Coast.
Okay, now it's kind of cool that we can say, all right, I'm going to be able to say I've been on the top of the top, but I have to actually get up there in order to say that.
That's true, you do.
So this is the original stairwell, huh?
This is the original staircase from the original tower. You'll notice there's a maker's mark on it right here of 1869.
Oh my goodness. Wow, 145 steps, huh?
Yep.
All right.
So this tube right here, this is the tube that the weight traveled in that powered the clockwork mechanism that turned the lens up until they ran electricity out here.
Like the actual weight.
The actual weight, yes.
Okay. Oh my goodness, like straight up. Whoa!
And that is our
gosh.
typical reaction to people who climb up here.
Oh my gosh, look at this.
This is the original lantern room from the 1870 lighthouse. So all that framing was built back in 1869. Most of the glass has been replaced. This is the footprint of the original lens. So you can see how little room there really was around the lens when it was up here. That was one of the big reasons that we brought it down. And the other reason is that the combination of the original lens and the Mercury Bath and Drive weighs about 5 tons.
So where is the actual light at this point?
The actual light is right over here. And it just flashed.
I saw a flash as soon as you pointed at it.
15 seconds later, it's going to flash again.
Why is it on that side versus on that side?
Because the main marine traffic is going to travel out there. Because that's the main shipping lanes, etc.
It's amazing because from this perspective, you can really see all the rocks that surround this point, which down there I saw some, but I didn't see as many.
Right. And this is one of the big reasons. So primarily a lighthouse is an aid to navigation, but it's also there to warn of dangers. And you can see a lot of them, all these sea stacks along here. Very, very dangerous. But the biggest danger that's around here is Arena Rock. It's about a mile off the coast, and you'll see waves break over it every once in a while. It's a football field size underwater seamount that only is about 6 to 10 feet below the surface of the ocean.
Just so that we're clear, guests can come up here and actually experience this as well, correct?
That is correct. We do tours about every 18 minutes from 10 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. during the summer, 3:15 the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And if you're staying with us in one of our 6 vacation cottages, you can see over there.
People can actually stay out here on the peninsula, right?
That's correct.
Wow.
Those are the former lighthouse keepers' homes. They were built in the 60s by the Coast Guard. And they're 3 of them are 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes.
Wow.
And they got
that is
full
so
kitchens,
cool.
wood-burning stoves. We provide all the wood. So it's a really unique experience. We've had families who've been coming up here for 20 years, and they'll rent 3 of the units and have big reunions and birthdays and things like that.
What about this gazebo area out there?
So the gazebo is a remnant of a 1992 Mel Gibson movie called Forever Young. And the climax of the movie was him and his young
Plane
sidekick.
landing and everything.
Well, they flew a B-25 around the lighthouse, and then they landed it in that field out there and trundled up to his long-lost fiance's home. They left that behind when they finished filming.
That is cool. Have there been other movies or shows that have been filmed out here?
There have. Probably the best known one is Need for Speed, which was a car race movie. The grand finale was right there.
I could say I've been in the tallest lighthouse on the Pacific coast.
That's correct.
Oh my gosh.